Have you ever found yourself struggling to open a jar or noticed that climbing a few steps leaves you feeling more tired than before? Maybe you felt those subtle changes. Your muscles aren't as strong, your memory sometimes slips away, or simple things take longer to recover. It's easy to tell ourselves, this is just getting old. But what if that's not the whole story? What if it's not simply age catching up, but habits we haven't noticed that could be holding us back? Many of us accept these changes as inevitable, brushing them off as part of growing older, but sometimes the smallest daily choices can make a huge difference in how young we feel, inside and out. These little shifts often go overlooked, yet they can quietly chip away at our strength, energy, and joy. In this video, I want to share with you 6 unusual but powerful daily habits that have helped others just like you stay younger, sharper, and more energized after 65. They might sound a bit strange at first, but the science behind them is real, and so are the results. So let's take this journey together, step by step, discovering simple ways to reclaim that youthful spark. By the end of this video, you'll have fresh ideas to add to your day, habits that could quietly change your life for the better. If you are not subscribed, subscribe and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. If you like the topic of this video, please comment 1. If you don't, please comment 0 to let me know how I can improve and make better videos for you. Now, let's begin. 1. Talking to yourself in the mirror every morning. It usually starts the same way. You shuffle into the bathroom, turn on the light, and there you are, face to face with the person you've known all your life. The mirror shows you everything. The familiar eyes, maybe a few more wrinkles than yesterday, a little more gray, a little less sparkle. Maybe you glance for a second, maybe not at all. Just another morning, another routine, another quiet day ahead. For so many older adults, mornings feel quiet in a way that's not always peaceful. Children are grown. The phone doesn't ring as much. The house is still. And over time, that silence begins to echo. You wake up, make your coffee, check the news, and somehow the day just drifts by, without laughter, without connection, sometimes without even saying a single word out loud. Most people wouldn't think twice about this. It seems normal, even harmless. Who talks to themselves in the mirror, anyway? Isn't that something people do in movies, or something you'd laugh about if you saw someone else doing it? But here's the question I want to ask you today. What if talking to yourself in the mirror is exactly what your brain and your spirit needs to stay young? I know it might sound odd at first, but stay with me. Science is beginning to show us that self-talk, especially spoken out loud and directed at yourself in the mirror, is more than just a quirky habit. It's a powerful tool for mental clarity, emotional resilience, and even physical health. Think about it. When we were younger, we spent so much time being seen and heard. At work, with family, in our communities. We were in conversation all day long. We were active participants in the world, and the world responded. But as we age, those opportunities begin to shrink. We stop being spoken to as often. We stop hearing our voices. And we slowly, without realizing it, begin to disappear from our own lives. That's where mirror talk comes in. Speaking to yourself out loud each morning can reawaken the parts of your brain that have grown quiet. It activates your prefrontal cortex, boosts your mood-regulating neurotransmitters, and strengthens the neural circuits responsible for memory, focus, and confidence. In one fascinating study, researchers found that self-talk, especially when done in the second or third person, like saying, "You've got this, John," actually reduces anxiety and increases problem-solving ability. It gives you distance from your stress and helps you become your source of encouragement. And when you add a mirror into the mix, it becomes even more powerful. Looking into your own eyes while speaking kind words builds self-recognition, boosts self-compassion, and gives you back something we often lose with age, a sense of identity. Now, I'm not talking about standing in front of the mirror for half an hour giving yourself a pep talk. This isn't a Broadway audition. It's something simple, gentle. A few seconds, maybe a minute or two. Just enough time to remind yourself, I'm still here. I'm still strong. I still matter. So how do you do it? It's easier than you think. Start tomorrow morning. Walk to the mirror. Look at yourself, not to criticize or judge, but just to see. And then say something out loud. can be anything true, anything kind. You might say, today is going to be a good day. You've made it through a lot, and you're still going. You're doing better than you think. You're not alone. You've got you. Say it like you mean it. Say it like you would to a friend who needed lifting. Because that's exactly who you are at that moment, a friend to yourself. At first, it might feel awkward. You might laugh or roll your eyes. But keep doing it. After a few days, something shifts. You begin to look forward to that moment. It becomes a grounding ritual, a spark that lights your morning and carries into the rest of your day. Let me tell you about Walter. Walter is 74 and lives just outside of Des Moines. He lost his wife 5 years ago, and for a long time, the mornings were the worst. The silence felt unbearable. He didn't want to get out of bed, didn't feel like shaving, and didn't see much reason to do anything at all. One day, on a whim, he started talking to himself in the mirror. Just a joke. He looked at his reflection and said, "Well, you old fart, let's see what kind of trouble you can get into today." And for the first time in months, he laughed. The next day, he did it again. And then again. It became a ritual. Over time, the mirror became less a place of sadness and more like an old friend. He'd say, "Hey, Walter. Still here. Still got that crooked smile." It wasn't therapy. It wasn't magic. But it helped. He told me once, "That mirror saved me. Not because of what I saw, but because it gave me a voice when I thought I didn't have one anymore." And that's what this habit is really about. Giving yourself back your voice. Reclaiming the part of you that still wants to live with purpose, with presence, with joy. It doesn't cost anything. It doesn't require mobility or a schedule or a group. It's just you and a mirror and the willingness to say, "I'm still in this." Because here's the truth. The world may not always see you the way it once did. People may not call as often. The pace around you may have changed. But that doesn't mean you have faded. You are still here. You are still a story in motion. And your words, your own words, can remind you of that every single day. So if there's one habit you try this week, let it be this one. Tomorrow morning, before the day gets ahead of you, take a breath, look into your own eyes, and speak to yourself with kindness and courage. Not because someone told you to. Not because it's on a list. But because your voice deserves to be heard, especially by the person who needs it most. You may be surprised what starts to happen when you hear yourself again. 2. Walking backwards in your yard or home. There are some habits we do without even thinking, like walking. You get up from your chair, shuffle over to the kitchen, maybe head outside to check the mail. Your feet move forward, your mind drifts, and before you know it, you're back where you started. It's part of everyday life, something we've done a million times. But have you ever tried walking backwards? I don't mean as a joke or when you're looking for your glasses. I mean as a daily habit, on purpose, with attention, even with joy. Sounds strange, right? Most of us were taught that forward is the way we're meant to move. Forward means progress. Forward is safe. And walking backwards, that just sounds silly, maybe even dangerous. But here's the question worth asking. What if walking backwards, even just a few steps a day, could help keep your brain young, your balance sharper, and your body more alive? It might sound like a novelty, but science suggests otherwise. Researchers studying aging and brain health have discovered something fascinating. When we engage in movements that feel unfamiliar or challenging, especially those that disrupt our autopilot, we activate regions of the brain responsible for focus, coordination, and memory. And walking backwards, it lights up those areas like a Christmas tree. It turns out this strange movement does several powerful things. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. First, it forces your brain to become more alert. You can't walk backwards while zoning out. You have to pay attention. That awareness activates your prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for decision-making, focus, and executive function, areas that tend to decline with age. Second, it improves your balance. As we get older, our ability to stay steady on our feet becomes more and more critical. Backward walking strengthens the muscles in your legs and hips in ways forward walking doesn't. It even engages your core, without a single crunch. And third, it boosts coordination. Since backward walking requires a different rhythm, your brain has to create new movement patterns. That kind of neuroplasticity, the brain adapting and growing, is key to maintaining a youthful, responsive nervous system. It might all sound technical, but the real message is simple. Doing something unfamiliar and playful, like walking backwards, keeps your brain and body awake and engaged. Now, let me be clear, we're not talking about marching backward down the driveway like a parade float. Safety comes first. If you try this, do it in a safe, open space. A flat hallway. A backyard with no obstacles. Even 5 or 6 slow steps while holding onto the back of a chair or walking along a wall is enough to start. In fact, let me tell you a story that might bring this to life. There's a small senior living community just outside Flagstaff, Arizona. A few years ago, their wellness director, just a young woman with a quirky sense of humor, introduced something called Reverse Walk Wednesdays. Every Wednesday morning, the residents would meet in the community garden, and after a few stretches, they would practice walking backwards, one by one, around the little path. At first, it looked like a slow-motion comedy show. There was laughter, hesitation, even a few complaints. But something unexpected happened. After a few weeks, people who'd needed canes started using them a little less. A few said their knees felt stronger. More than that, they were smiling more. One gentleman, a retired science teacher named Frank, said, "My brain feels younger. I forgot how fun it is to learn something new." By month 2, they had added music. Elvis, Chuck Berry, Patsy Cline. People weren't just walking backwards. They were dancing, laughing, even racing each other gently in reverse. It wasn't about exercise anymore. It became a celebration of being alive. And that's really the heart of this habit. It's not just about brain function or muscle tone. It's about doing something that reminds you that you can still play, that you can still surprise yourself, that you're still capable of learning, growing, even being a little silly. So how do you begin? Start small. Pick a safe space in your home, your hallway, a stretch of your kitchen floor, or even a corner of your backyard. Make sure there's nothing to trip on. If balance is a concern, use the wall or the back of a sturdy chair for support. Take 5 steps backwards slowly. Then pause. Turn around and walk forward again. That's it. You don't need to break a sweat. You just need to break the routine. If you can, do it again the next day. Maybe 6 steps. Maybe 7. If you're feeling playful, put on a little music. Something from the 50s or 60s. Something that makes you smile. Make it a moment you look forward to. Not a task, but a treat. You might feel a little silly. That's okay. Silly is good. Silly means your brain is awake. Silly means you're doing something new. And every time you take a step backwards, you're giving yourself a push forward in a deeper way. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that getting older means slowing down, playing it safe, or sticking to the familiar. But the truth is, our brains, just like our muscles, thrive on novelty. On small challenges. On shaking things up. You don't need to run marathons or master technology to stay young. Sometimes, staying young is as simple as doing something your younger self would have done just for fun. Like walking backwards in your socks on a quiet morning. Like laughing at yourself in the mirror when you do it. Because here's what no one tells you. Youth isn't just a time of life, it's a state of being. A willingness to try. To play. To explore. So if there's one habit you try from this video, let it be this. Take a few steps backward every day. Let your body feel different. Let your brain fire up. Let your heart remember what it feels like to move with curiosity, not just caution. You're not too old. It's not too late. You're still growing, and a few backward steps might just move you forward in the best possible way. 3. Eating breakfast with your hands, when appropriate. It's a quiet morning. You're sitting at the kitchen table, as you've done thousands of times before. Maybe it's toast with jam, maybe a bowl of cereal, maybe a soft-boiled egg if you're feeling fancy. You reach for your fork, your spoon, or your usual utensils, and you go through the motions. Bite, chew, swallow. Wash it down with a bit of coffee or tea. You finish, rinse your plate, and that's breakfast. It works. It's routine. But here's a question you probably haven't asked yourself in a long time. When was the last time you ate with your hands? Now, before you shake your head or chuckle at the idea, let me ask you something deeper. What if using your hands, yes, your actual hands, to eat your breakfast could help wake up your senses, improve your brain function, and reconnect you with joy? It might sound strange, maybe even a little uncivilized. After all, we were taught that eating with your hands is something kids do, or something you do only at barbecues and picnics. We associate it with messiness or being improper. But there's something profoundly human and surprisingly healing about using your hands to eat, especially in the early hours of the day. Let's talk about why this works. When you eat with your hands, you're not just feeding your body. You're activating your senses: touch, temperature, texture. Your fingertips send signals to your brain before the food even reaches your mouth. This increases something scientists call sensory anticipation, which improves digestion and satisfaction. In fact, research in neuroscience and behavioral health suggests that sensory-rich experiences like hand-eating promote mindful eating. That means you're more present with your food, less likely to overeat, and more likely to enjoy what you're eating, bite by bite. But there's more. For older adults, using your hands also strengthens coordination, grip, and motor control. These are functions that naturally decline with age but can be maintained through daily, simple actions. Reaching, holding, tearing, pinching. These aren't just motions, they're gentle forms of physical therapy built into something you already do every day: eat. And on an emotional level, eating with your hands can evoke something powerful: nostalgia. It brings back a time when food wasn't just fuel, but an experience. Think back to childhood. A fresh piece of toast in your hands, warm biscuits broken apart, fruit picked right off the vine. Back then, food was touched, held, appreciated. You didn't worry about etiquette. You just enjoyed it. Let me share a story about Jeanette, a lovely 79-year-old woman I met at a senior wellness group in Oregon. Jeanette had been struggling with her appetite. Nothing tasted good anymore, she said. I eat because I'm supposed to, she told me. But I don't enjoy it like I used to. One day, at a community breakfast event, someone handed her a fresh croissant. No fork, no plate, just a napkin and her hands. She hesitated, then shrugged, then took a bite. Something changed in her face instantly. She smiled. It reminds me of when I used to bake with my mom, she said. I haven't thought about that in 50 years. That one experience sparked a new habit. Every morning, Jeanette started preparing a small breakfast: fruit slices, toast with almond butter, or a banana pancake, and she ate it with her hands. Gently, intentionally. Not rushed. Not distracted. Just her and the food. And you know what? Her appetite returned. So did her mood. Her digestion improved, and even her sense of smell became sharper. It's silly, she laughed one day, but it feels like I'm eating with myself again, not just for myself. That's the beauty of this practice. Now, let's be practical. I'm not suggesting you toss your oatmeal across the room and start eating soup with your fingers. Some meals obviously require a spoon or fork, but others. You'd be surprised how much more connected you feel when you drop the silverware and let your fingers do the work. So here's how to try it, gently and appropriately. Start with something easy and clean. Sliced fruit, a small piece of toast, hard-boiled eggs, homemade muffins, or even veggie sticks with hummus. Foods that are naturally eaten by hand. Foods that don't make a mess or create extra stress. Before you eat, take a moment to feel the texture. Is it warm, cool, soft, crispy? Let your senses wake up. Then, take a bite. Slowly, with presence. No phones. No TV. Just you and your food. Just a few minutes of being completely present. And if the idea makes you feel awkward or silly, that's okay. It's not about being perfect. It's about being human. About breaking away from the routines that have dulled your senses and reintroducing joy into something as simple as breakfast. And who knows? You might find yourself smiling again at the start of the day, before anything else has the chance to go wrong. You may even feel more grounded, more alive, just because you let your hands reconnect you to your body, your memories, and your morning. There's a phrase I once heard that stuck with me: the hands remember what the mind forgets. In so many ways, this is true. Your hands remember your first bites as a child, the meals you made for loved ones, the kitchen counters you leaned on while talking to a friend. When you use them to eat, you're not regressing, you're returning. Returning to something honest, simple, sacred. Because food, especially in our later years, should still bring joy, not just survival. And joy comes when we let ourselves experience the moment, not just pass through it. So, tomorrow morning, I invite you to try it. Just one small part of your breakfast, held in your hand. Feel it, taste it, enjoy it, see what happens. You might be surprised at how something so small can shift your entire mood. Because staying young isn't always about moving fast or doing more. Sometimes, it's about slowing down and feeling more. And sometimes, it starts with something as humble as holding your breakfast, just like you used to. 4. Laughing alone at silly videos or articles. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 2 below to let me know that you are still here with me. There's a quiet moment in the day that many older adults know well. It usually sneaks in mid-morning or mid-afternoon, after the chores are done and the house settles into stillness. You've read the news. You've paid a bill. You've maybe taken a walk or watered a plant. And then comes that familiar hush. Not a bad hush, but not exactly joyful either. Sometimes, in that quiet, we turn on the TV for noise. Or scroll through Facebook to see pictures of the grandkids. But laughter, the kind that bubbles up unexpectedly, that fills the room even when you're alone, that kind of laughter feels like it belongs to the past. And yet, let me ask you something simple. When was the last time you laughed, really laughed, and no one else was even in the room? If that question makes you pause, you're not alone. Many people believe that laughter only counts when it's shared, that you need company, or a good story, or something funny happening around you to let out a real belly laugh. But here's the twist. Laughter doesn't wait for company. And more importantly, your brain doesn't care if it's real, fake, shared, or solo. It responds just the same. Studies in neuroscience have shown something remarkable. When you laugh, even if you fake it at first, your brain releases a chemical cocktail, endorphins, dopamine, serotonin, that lifts your mood, lowers stress, and strengthens your immune system. Laughter lowers blood pressure. It soothes tension. It even improves memory and focus. And yes, you can laugh alone. In fact, that might be the best-kept secret to staying young in spirit. Dr. Lee Berk, a pioneering researcher in laughter therapy, once said, "The body can't tell the difference between real laughter and pretend laughter. The benefits are the same." That means you don't have to be in a comedy club or watching a sitcom with a group to unlock those benefits. All you need is a willingness to smile. And maybe a little silliness. Let me tell you about Carl. Carl is 78, lives alone in a cozy apartment in Minneapolis, and used to be a very serious man. Former engineer. A man of logic, structure, and careful planning. After retirement, he found himself falling into what he called a mental fog. No energy. No excitement. No color in the day. One morning, while fixing his toast, he accidentally clicked a YouTube video on his tablet. One of those compilations of babies giggling and dogs falling off couches. He rolled his eyes, but something made him let it play. Within a minute, he was chuckling. At 3 minutes in, he was laughing so hard he had to wipe tears from his eyes. That afternoon, Carl did something unexpected. He looked up more funny videos. Then the next day, he read an article about dad jokes that make no sense, and laughed until his sides hurt. He began setting aside 10 minutes every day for what he calls his laughter break. Carl swears it changed his life. "I didn't realize how long I'd gone without laughing," he told me. "It's like I turned the lights back on in my own head." He's not alone. Laughter, even in solitude, brings light. It reminds us we're still connected, to joy, to memory, to feeling alive. So how can you turn this into a habit? Start small. After breakfast or before your afternoon nap, take 5 minutes and do one of these. Search for a silly cat video, you'd be amazed how many exist. Look up funny senior moments on YouTube. Many are heartwarming and relatable. Read a list of old-fashioned one-liners or corny jokes. Rewatch a clip from a classic show you used to love, I Love Lucy, The Carol Burnett Show, Golden Girls. Or, if you're feeling bold, try what's called laughter yoga. It sounds silly, and it is, but it works. You simply start by pretending to laugh out loud, even if there's nothing funny. Eventually, your brain catches on, and it becomes real. Now, some days you might not feel like laughing. That's okay. Just start with a smile. Even smiling for a few seconds can trigger a positive chemical response in the brain. You don't have to force a loud cackle. Just let a lightness into the moment. And if you're worried someone will think you're strange for laughing by yourself, well, let them. Strange isn't bad. In fact, strange might just be what saves your spirit from fading. Besides, haven't you earned the right, at this stage in life, to laugh when and where you want? The beautiful thing is, once you make this a habit, it starts to color your entire day. You approach the mail with a little more bounce in your step. You answer the phone with more warmth. You sleep better. You even digest better. Yes, really. Laughter triggers physical relaxation, which helps everything from your gut to your heart. And it's completely free. No prescriptions. No appointments. Just you, a funny clip, or a silly article, and permission to let go. Because life after 65 doesn't have to be all caution and quiet. It can be joyful. It can be playful. And sometimes, that joy starts with a chuckle at a dancing llama on your tablet screen, or a pun so bad it makes you groan and laugh at the same time. Laughter is how the body breathes out the heaviness. It's how the heart remembers that not everything has to be taken seriously. So, tomorrow, give yourself 5 minutes. Maybe after you've read the news or taken your morning walk. Let yourself laugh, even if it feels awkward. Let it come naturally, or fake it until it does. Watch a silly dog video. Read a bad joke out loud. Smile. Giggle. Snort if you must. And then notice how your shoulders feel. How your face softens. How the day suddenly feels more possible. That's not just laughter. That's medicine. And if someone walks in and asks what you're laughing at, just smile and say, I'm practicing staying young. Because in a world that often tells older adults to be quiet, cautious, and careful, laughter is rebellion. It's freedom. It's a spark. And you, my friend, deserve to keep that spark alive. 5. Wearing unusual clothes once a week. There's a moment in the morning, right after the bathroom and before breakfast, when we all face the same simple choice: what to wear today. For most people past 65, the answer is automatic. Something comfortable, something practical, something that doesn't draw too much attention. A soft cardigan, loose pants, neutral colors, the safe sweater, the good walking shoes. Maybe you reach for that same button-up shirt you've worn 100 times. It's familiar. It works. It doesn't ask for much. But let me ask you a different question. When was the last time you wore something just because it made you smile? Not because it matched. Not because it was age-appropriate. Not because it was weather-appropriate. Just because it felt a little fun. Most of us, somewhere along the way, stop dressing for ourselves. We dress for convenience. For comfort. For invisibility, even. Especially as we age, we're taught, without anyone saying it directly, that blending in is better. That drawing attention is for the young. That bold colors, silly prints, or accessories that sparkle are no longer for us. But here's the twist. What if wearing something unusual is actually a quiet act of joy? What if it's not just about clothes, but about claiming a piece of yourself that still wants to be seen? Studies in color psychology have shown that what we wear influences not only how others see us, but how we feel inside. Bright colors can lift your mood. A pop of red or yellow can raise dopamine levels. Wearing something playful or different can activate parts of the brain associated with creativity and memory. And there's more. When you wear something outside your routine, even just once a week, you interrupt the pattern. You wake yourself up. You bring back a little edge, a little personality, a little spark. And no, this doesn't mean you have to dress like Lady Gaga. It could be as simple as a scarf with polka dots, a sweater in a bold shade of blue, a hat you haven't worn in years because it's too much, earrings that jingle, a fun pair of socks, that jacket you bought years ago and never dared to wear out. Let me introduce you to a woman named Gloria. Gloria is 82. She lives in Ohio and used to be a seamstress. For most of her life, she dressed everyone else, brides, prom queens, churchgoers. But after her husband passed, Gloria began to shrink herself. Not physically, but emotionally. She stopped caring what she wore. "Just give me something clean," she'd say. "It doesn't matter anymore." One day, her granddaughter brought over a box of old clothes from Gloria's attic. Inside was a bright red coat, soft wool, with oversized buttons and a matching beret. "You wore this in a photo when you were 40, her granddaughter said. "You looked amazing." Gloria stared at the coat. She hadn't seen it in decades. "It's ridiculous," she said. "Too loud. Too young." But her granddaughter just smiled and said, "Just try it on." And she did. She looked in the mirror and saw herself. Not the tired version, not the widow, not the background. Herself. She started wearing that coat every Thursday, no matter where she was going, even if it was just to the grocery store. People noticed. Strangers complimented her. Kids smiled at her. But most importantly, she smiled at herself. "I forgot I was still in here," she said once. "I forgot clothes could make me feel like me again." And that's the heart of this habit. Wearing something unusual, just once a week, can reconnect you to a part of yourself that hasn't had much room to breathe. A part that still wants to play, to stand out, to be a little bold. So how do you begin? Start simple. Choose one day a week, let's say Wednesday. Call it your Wild Wednesday or Flair Friday. And on that day, wear something just a little bit out of the ordinary. Here are some ideas. A brightly colored sweater, a vintage brooch, a floral tie, a funky necklace you haven't worn since the 80s, a pair of shoes that squeak a little, a hat, yes, a real hat. You don't need a reason. You don't need an event. Just wear it around the house, or to the mailbox, or when you're Zooming with the grandkids. Make a moment out of it. Let yourself be seen, even if the only person seeing you is the one in the mirror. And yes, you might feel silly at first. That's part of the fun. Because silliness, believe it or not, is medicine too. We spend so much time in this chapter of life managing health, appointments, safety. We forget to celebrate style, whimsy, and self-expression. But the truth is, those things aren't for the young. They're for the living. And if you're still here, you get to choose joy. You get to dress up. You get to shine. Don't let age dim your color. Let the clothes you wear remind you, I am still alive. I am still someone. I am still worth noticing. And if anyone gives you a funny look, smile. Maybe even strike a pose. Because life may be shorter than it used to be, but that doesn't mean it can't be brighter. So open that closet. Dig out that thing you love but haven't worn. Try something new, or old, or silly. Let it feel good. Let it feel like you. And remember, just one day a week is enough to start. That's 52 chances a year to express yourself, lift your mood, and remind the world, and yourself, that your spirit hasn't gone anywhere. It's just been waiting for a red coat and a reason to shine. 6. Sending one positive message a day to someone. There's a quiet truth about getting older that not many people talk about. Your phone rings less. Some of it's expected. The kids have their own lives. Friends move away, or pass away. Days grow quieter. Sometimes the silence is welcome, peaceful even. Other times, it stretches too long, like a pause that doesn't know how to end. You scroll through your contacts and see names you haven't touched in months. You think of people, family, old coworkers, the neighbor you used to chat with at the mailbox, but the thought passes. They're probably busy. They'll think I'm being random. What would I even say? And so the moment slips by. But here's something worth asking. What if you reached out anyway? Just once a day. Just one simple message, to brighten someone else's day, and yours? It might seem like a small gesture, especially in a world addicted to flashy posts and fast replies. But science and experience say otherwise. A study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that people who send a thoughtful message each day experience a noticeable increase in happiness, mental clarity, and emotional connection. And the beauty, it works both ways. When you send a positive message to someone else, whether it's a compliment, a memory, or just a thinking of you, your brain lights up the same way it would if you'd received it. Dopamine, oxytocin, connection, hope. It doesn't have to be long, or perfect, or poetic. It just has to be real. Let me tell you about Harold. Harold is 76, a retired postman in upstate New York. After his wife passed, the days felt long and strangely empty. He still walked every morning, still brewed his coffee the same way, but something was missing. The routine was there. The meaning wasn't. Then one morning, while thumbing through old photos, he came across a picture of his cousin George from 1965. They hadn't spoken in years. On a whim, Harold picked up his phone, typed, "Remember when you fell into the lake in Buffalo with your pants still on? Made me laugh for days." He hit send. He didn't expect much. But 3 hours later, George replied, "I thought you forgot that. You just made my week." That one message led to another, then another. Harold started a new routine, one message a day, sometimes to old friends, sometimes to family, sometimes to someone he hadn't seen in decades. Some replied, some didn't. But that wasn't the point. The more I sent, Harold said, the less alone I felt. Not because people answered, but because I remembered I had people. I had stories. I had a past that still mattered. And in doing so, he also gave others something they didn't know they needed, a gentle reminder that they were remembered. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 3 below to let me know that you are still here with me. You see, aging often brings the illusion of invisibility, not just physically, but emotionally. It feels like you're watching the world from a window, waving quietly while others rush past. But one message, just one, can change that. It reminds someone else that they matter. And it reminds you that you do, too. So how do you begin? Simple. Make it a ritual. Set aside 5 minutes a day, maybe after your morning coffee or before dinner, and think, who could use a smile today? Open your phone or computer. Choose one person. Could be a friend from church you haven't seen in a while, a grandson you don't want to bother, a neighbor who waved yesterday, someone who crossed your mind for no reason at all. And then write a message. It doesn't have to be long, just real. Thinking of you today. Hope you're well. Remember our walks around the lake? I miss those. Your name popped into my head today, and it made me smile. Just wanted you to know you made a difference in my life. You can send it as a text, a voice note, an email, or even a handwritten postcard if that's more your style. The format doesn't matter. The feeling does. And no, you don't need to wait for a birthday or an excuse. The best messages are the ones people don't expect. You might worry, what if they don't respond? That's okay. This isn't about replies. It's about ripples. Because what you give out has a way of circling back, even if it doesn't happen right away. And over time, something shifts. That list of names in your phone, it stops feeling like a list of people you've lost touch with, and starts feeling like a garden you're tending. Little by little. Message by message. Connection grows. Even your own sense of time changes. The days stop blending into one another. You wake up with a purpose, even if it's just to reach out and send a smile. Let me tell you one more story, short but sweet. Nora, 81, started texting a joke every morning to her 3 grandkids. Nothing fancy, just a one-liner or a pun. At first, they barely responded. But after a week, they began replying with their own jokes. A few months later, her oldest granddaughter said, "Grandma, your texts are the best part of my day." Nora said it was the easiest, happiest habit she'd ever started. And all it costs, she said, is a few taps and a little love. So here's your invitation. Start today. Just one message. Pick someone, anyone, and send them a kind word, a funny memory, a short prayer, a long-lost photo. Reach out, not because they need it, but because you do. Because you're still part of this world. And your voice still has the power to lift, to warm, to heal. And who knows? Tomorrow, you might be the one receiving the message you didn't know you needed. That's the beauty of small gestures. They don't just brighten the day. They remind us we're still in it. So let your words go out like little lights in the dark. Gentle, kind, and quietly life-giving. Because being remembered feels wonderful. But remembering, and letting someone else know you do, that's what keeps the soul young. So, there you have it. 6 habits that might sound a little unusual at first, but each one holds a quiet kind of magic. Talking to yourself in the mirror. Walking backwards. Eating with your hands. Laughing alone. Wearing something a little bold. Sending a message that makes someone smile. None of these require big changes. You don't have to move across the country or reinvent your life. You just have to choose, each day, to stay connected. To your senses. To your humor. To your past. And most importantly, to other people. Because staying young has very little to do with age. And everything to do with energy. With curiosity. With the simple decision to keep engaging in life, even if the world has slowed down around you. These small daily habits are like little anchors to joy. They remind you that you're not invisible. That there's still room for laughter, surprise, and even playfulness at 67, 75, or 88. So tomorrow, pick just one. Try it. See how it feels. You might laugh at yourself. You might feel awkward. You might feel alive again. And if something in this video made you smile or stirred a memory, share it with someone you care about. Who knows, your message might be the one thing that lifts someone else's entire day. You are still here. You are still growing. And there's still so much to enjoy. Thank you for spending time with me. Until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and stay young at heart.